The most bizarre censorship in Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's watch.
Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. This time, I am going to be starting maybe a brand new mini-series. It might honestly just be a one-off video. Genuinely, it's just a video that I want to make, and it's a topic that I want to discuss with you guys, because I'm going to go over what I believe is the most bizarre censorship that we have ever seen in the English dub in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's crazy because there is a lot of censorship, and I'm pretty sure bizarre is the right word for this, because if the biggest censorship is definitely the Shadow Realm, right? We talked about it. We saw a video about it, about the Shadow Realm. But this is one that is bizarre, so it's a weird one, right?
We understand, as fans of the show and fans of the franchise, that the English dub has censored a lot of different things. They've censored storylines, they've changed storylines, they've cut out scenes entirely. And whether you're referring to Duel Monsters, GX, 5D, Zexal, Arc 5 Reigns, it really doesn't matter. This is something that we're all used to as Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans. We understand it happens. The English dub has a little bit of a different target audience than the original subbed version, and while I know it annoys a lot of people, it just is what it is. But this was a censorship, going back to the original Duel Monsters, that I really have no idea why it happened. Right, there's a lot of censorships in Yu-Gi-Oh! That
I wonder, we have been saying the same thing for 10 minutes. I want to know what it is.
we understand why they happen. We understand why guns were removed. Even though maybe we don't necessarily agree with them, we can understand why guns and violent objects like that were removed.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. See how there are some things, like literally what he's saying, right? Like the gangs, or like people dying, or like violence, or like sexual stuff, like needed to be censored because that's what, like, it's not that they needed to be censored, it's just like 4Kids had a vision of what the show was meant to be and for what target audience, right? So those are things that make sense.
Removed and replaced with finger guns. Obviously, it's the big meme. We can understand why the concept of death was removed and replaced with a Shadow Realm, even though, that's a whole nother debate for a different video, because the concept of the Shadow Realm and eternal suffering is almost worse than the concept of death itself. But we understand why changes like that were made. When Pegasus is getting the eye shoved into the socket and they remove the blood, we understand why that censorship happens. When localization changes are made and food changes to more American and Western food, like hamburgers.
Okay, that is something that I understand, but I still feel like it's super dumb. How they just say they are eating, like, I don't know, rice balls, and they're like, this jelly-filled donut is so good. Like, that's dumb, right? But I can understand where they are coming from, right? But I feel like, I don't agree. I think it's dumb, but I can at least see some kind of argument be made. I still disagree. I think it's still dumb.
Burgers. We understand why those changes are made, but this is a decision that I really cannot think of any legitimate reason as to why it was made, and it's something that I definitely do want to discuss with you guys, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, because I know there are a good amount of people that don't even know this is a thing. And based on the thumbnail, you already know what I'm going to talk about, and that's the fact that Yugimoto has a mother. And Yugimoto...
What? What? She's actually in one episode. I don't remember which one. I think it's the second episode, actually. I think it's when the grandpa is in the hospital, she is there, but she doesn't have a single line. She's just there. And it's never mentioned again, as far as I know. But she is in the dub. She's just sitting there for like a few frames.
Yugimoto's mother not only appeared pretty prevalently, well, prevalently is actually not the right word. She appeared moderately in the original manga. That might even be too generous of a word. I actually don't even think she had more than like a few panels. And she also appeared in the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters subbed. But she also appeared in the English dub, although the scene where she speaks is the scene that we're going to be focusing on, and it's the scene that gets removed from the English dub for a reason that I cannot comprehend. So before we get into that, let's begin with her debut. And this was a mutual debut, whether you're watching the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or the English dub. She's in this scene.
There she is. There she is.
Yugimoto has defeated Pegasus. This is right after Yami Bakura has taken the Millennium Eye from Pegasus. They are leaving Duelist Kingdom, and they visit the hospital where Grandpa Moto, Solomon Moto...
Wait, what am I talking about? Yeah, this is not the second episode. It's after that. Okay. I'm crazy. I remember the grandpa being in the hospital, but I don't remember when. But yeah, it's after Duelist Kingdom.
Is recovering from, and Yugi sees his grandpa, and next to his grandfather is a woman. And unless you pay very fine attention to...
No, but she was before. I feel like when the grandpa is just in the bed, she's also sitting there. I'm pretty sure it happened before.
Detail. Even if you do pay fine attention to detail, you probably have no idea who this woman is, especially if you've only watched the English dub or really the anime at all and don't know anything about the manga. You might even assume that this woman is Grandpa's nurse. That's actually probably more believable than thinking, oh, there's Yugi's mom in episode 41, who has not been mentioned or introduced to us at all until this point. But that is Yugi's mother. So Yugi's mother appears in the English dub, doesn't say anything, and she's in just 2 quick shots, and in the Japanese version of the anime. Now, the main moment that gets censored, and not only gets censored, by the way, in the English dub, I've talked about different scenes and different topics that have been censored in the Japanese version, in the original version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, where they were basing it off of the manga, and the writer said, yeah, you know what, this is a little too intense for the manga. Even we're not going to include this in. I think I have a video 10 times the manga was too dark for the anime. So censorship does happen between the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga and the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then more censorship to the English dub. So it really just is a train, especially when looking back at the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Duel Monsters is the only one that is based off of the manga. So in the manga, right before Yugimoto goes on his date with Anzu, I'm sure we can all remember this,
This happened before the date? The hell? That is okay. Interesting. Just when they return, when they return from the Pegasus thing. Even in the Japanese version, she barely exists. I don't remember if she was in the movie. That's a good question. I probably she wasn't.
Yugi and Taya go on the date. Taya is torn between which version of Yugi she actually likes. Yugi is playing a game, and this is exclusive in the manga, where he's matching up the icons on socks, and he tells his mom that, you know, it's going to help him with his sixth sense and yada yada yada. And his mom,
what the hell is this? What is this? Why is this a thing?
Mom ends up smacking him over the head with a ladle, a wooden spoon, and says you should be focusing more on schoolwork. So his mom was actually a pretty strict woman. This was completely censored in the anime.
Violence? Violence, I guess? You don't want to be... I don't know, dude. I guess, I mean, I can see it. I can see it.
On both versions. I'm not sure why it was censored in the Japanese version. It could have just been they didn't want to give her that much of a role, or they didn't maybe want to show a mom hitting a son. I don't really know the reason for it, but...
Wait, there's actual rules for the sock game. Get a lot of identical white socks, draw different symbols, hearts, stars, political insignia, whatever, on the back of each pair of socks. Mix up the socks and spread them out symbols side down. Use your sixth sense to pick out a pair of socks with different symbols and win. This almost feels like he was getting prepared to cheat at Yu-Gi-Oh! At Duel Monsters. It kinda sounds like that. I know that's not the case. I know that's not what the anime is trying to imply, but it almost feels like that. It's so weird, right? School? Not in my children's card game. No.
But whatever, that was changed, and so her whole personality in the anime was a little different than it was in the manga, but we still do see her in the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. Yugi is talking to himself. His mom...
Can you try it? That sock game. Can I try the sock game? I should do it on stream. Handcam stream when? Yeah, I can do that. I should do that.
Comes into the room. Actually, I'm just gonna play the scene for you right now.
Oh my god, this video is dead.
誰かと話してなかった？
別に行ってきまーす。
俺の睨んだとこじゃあんたはお前に惚れてるぜ。
もうからかわないでよ。
ユギ？あの子大丈夫かしら？
何がじゃ。
最近やけに独り言が多いのよね。
あの年頃にはいろいろあるものじゃ。
Huh. 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 Yeah, it's just the voices in my head, right? It happens to every teenager, right? It's just the voices.
わしだってそうじゃった。
だから心配なんだけど。
なの
So
Okay, that
scene
was funny. That was a rare moment of this being funny.
occurs in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, and that scene is completely removed in the English dub for God knows what reasons.
Let's try to think about it. Why would that be removed? Let's think about it. What happened in this scene? She discovers that Yugi is talking to the voices in his head. And then he's like, no, you're imagining things. Tries to gaslight her, obviously. Then I guess the Pharaoh is the one who is saying this to Yugi. And then he replies, right? Don't tease me. And the mom thinks that he's talking to her, right? And she's like worried, right? So then they talk about Grandpa, and he's like, yeah, no, that's just like a kid's thing, right? It's like a teenager thing. Is it love that got it censored? Is it like, nah, this is attraction between teenagers? That's not a thing. Hello, Samuel. Welcome. Maybe something involving someone with voices happened at the time. That is a very interesting point, Samuel. That is a very interesting point. Maybe there was a case going on at the time, right? And maybe it was time sensitive. Maybe we're not putting ourselves back in when this was airing, which was 2001, 2002. Maybe there was a case where that happened, and maybe the joke, not the joke, but what the justification that the grandpa is trying to say, no, that happens to all the kids, will make it seem like a reference to that. Maybe that would make a lot of sense, Samuel. But we will have to check the news from the time. That we will have to check the news at the time. But that actually makes a lot of sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. As far as I know, sometimes it's not a matter of censorship, but they simply want the episode to be shorter on the dub, so they just got whatever they deem pointless, I guess. I doubt that's the case, because every episode will have to cut stuff, right? Not just one episode, but every episode will have to cut stuff. And I can understand that sometimes things get cut and you don't know why, and that's why it will make sense. But that would mean that every episode has things cut, and that's not a thing, I'm pretty sure. Have the mother ever talked in the dub? Nope. Remember the 4 kids schedule time was limited, so it not for time. I really doubt it's for time. I really doubt it's for time. I feel like it's one of those two, right? What Francisco said, which is that maybe they don't want like romance between teenagers, which is weird. But I can see 4 kids doing that, even though I feel like it's fucking dumb. I feel like that's absurd, right? But I can see it happening. I can see it. What makes more sense to me is what Samuel said, that maybe there was a case of something in real life involving voices in their head, and they were like, no, we couldn't even joke about that. Yeah, I feel like that would make sense. Let's see what the Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything theories.
So that scene occurs in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, and that scene is completely removed in the English dub for God knows what reasons. And I'm going to go back to my previous point. We understand why guns were removed. We understand why blood and violent scenes and actions were removed. This is something that I genuinely feel is just the most bizarre censorship in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I feel like introducing his mom in this way does absolutely no harm. It answers the question that a lot of viewers have, as in, where are Yugi's parents? Who are Yugi's parents? If you give us this scene, we can at least say, oh, so Yugi's mom does live at home. Okay, that's fine. Again, I don't understand the reasoning for cutting it. And for those of you wondering about Yugi's dad, Kazuki Takahashi actually spoke about Yugi's father, and he said in an interview, I believe this interview was 2010, so it was almost a decade ago, he said that Yugi's father is always away on business, and he's busy with business things, and so that's why he's never home. That's why I don't believe Yugi's dad is in the manga at all, and I don't believe his dad is in the anime at all. Actually, I'm 99.9% sure he's not in the anime at all. So Yugi's parents do exist. There's a lot of people out there that still believe Yugi doesn't have parents, or that his grandfather takes care of him. Maybe his parents went missing, but
I always assumed he just lived with the grandfather, right? I always thought that the grandpa was the only one taking care of him, which is weird, I guess, because he just was in the card shop, right? He doesn't sound like that. I never heard the JP dub. It scares me. Yeah, it's a little weird. It feels weird, right? When you're like so used to some voices and you hear like the original one and it's like way different. It's weird. To be fair, the cut thing would probably make more sense in future series in Sextol. There are a lot of important conversations and just being cut for no reason. It's weird. Anime dads be like, so true. One idea is they probably thought that the mom thought Yugi was doing something with the socks. Yeah, but the socks weren't part of the anime in Japanese, so I don't think that's why. In this the socks had nothing to do with it, right? There was no socks game. It was only in the manga. But that would make sense if it was also in the Japanese version. But I don't think so. The strange part is that you see other animes, they have the mods still in video, like Pokemon or Vanguard. Oh yeah, sometimes they like call them. Yeah. I mean, Yugi talking to himself about Tea. I guess. I don't know.
According to the manga and according to the anime, Yugi's mom lives at home with them. So that was something that was very wildly and bizarrely removed and censored from the English dub, and it's something that I've never quite understood the reasoning for, and this is a video that I've wanted to make for really like a year and a half, 2 years now, ever since I went back and reread the manga and remembered just how prevalent Yugi's mom was in the manga compared to the anime. Again, she wasn't really in the manga all that much, but she had a little more personality, she had a little more flavor to her, and she existed. And if you only watch the English dub, you probably look back at that episode 41 scene and say, oh, that was Grandpa Moto's nurse. You know, why are you going to assume that woman is Yugi's mom? But Yugi's mom was in the English dub, and then the scene where she gets kind of introduced as the mom.
What is this? What is this? Hold on. What's going on here? What is the joke?
They decide to remove. So it's really bizarre, and maybe I'll do a video like this for all the Yu-Gi-Ohs and just kind of hyper-focus in on one
Oh, that's the fire. They also remove him. Okay.
Censorship that to me makes absolutely no sense. If I had to think of a reason as to why they would cut it, maybe they just felt it wasn't important to the story. I mean, to be fair, in the anime, Yugi's mom really doesn't have any role in the story. In the Japanese version, she does not appear after this, and again, I believe this is episode 50 where she has the speaking role, and so maybe the people working over at 4Kids at the time just said, let's not even include her, let's not even bring up his mom, and let's, I guess, leave the viewers wondering where his parents are. I don't know, I feel
that's absurd. Like, I feel like we're not looking for real reasons here. I feel like we can come up with different theories, but I really don't think it's because it's not important, because the anime is full of things that are not important.
It would have been less bad to just have her show up in that scene, because now you have probably a lot of kids watching assuming that his parents are not at the house or are dead. And I don't know, I feel like, kind of like the Shadow Realm, it does more harm than good if the reason for censoring her and removing her from the show was to make the show more kid-friendly. It doesn't make any sense to me, but this is something that I really, really want to hear from all of you. And for those of you that are learning this for the first time, please let me know. And let me know what your reaction was when you did learn that Yugi had a mom, had a dad, and that his mom actually appeared in the anime and in the manga. It really is fascinating stuff. And again, any theories you have as to why you think she may have been removed, please let me know down below. And let me know if you think this is the most bizarre censorship in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or maybe just Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. And let me know some other really weird...
Alright, we got the point. I like this comment. That one guy joins the stream and he's like, he has a bomb? Right? Like, I mean, I feel like most people don't know. Quick correction, the manga panel I referred to is actually not directly correlated to the scene of episode 50. Both scenes depict Yugi's mom going into his room to let him know that Ansutea is here. That's why my memory failed me and my confusion came in. My apologies on that. Okay. Yugi's mom was sent to a Shadow Realm. The mom seems to be the most normal character in the franchise. Bandit, I'm gonna show you how to point our fingers in America. There's no actual theories. Yugi's mom doesn't have a crazy enough hair to be Protagonist's mother. No. Of course she got censored. I mean, look at her. She has a haircut that almost looks like something a person would have IRL. Nobody's trying to come up with theories. This wasn't censored. It was cut in order to have more commercials and thus making more money. This usually happens with movies and cartoons. You know what? You know what? I can get behind this. Actually, if you put it like that, it's not like it's not important. It's just like we want to cut everything we can to play more commercials during the episode, right? So every time that we can cut something, we are gonna do it. Because that means more commercial, that means more money. That makes sense. I can see that. I can see that. Now that is a reasonable take. I still think that the theory of something happening is related to kids talking by themselves and acting like from an adult point of view, like a crazy person, like it like could also be a thing at the time. I feel like that also makes sense, but I feel like this is the safest thing to say. I think so. I don't know. I guess we will never know unless someone wants to investigate and see that. If they cut the card game, there will be plenty of time for ads. You're so right, Samuel. You're so smart. Oh my god. No, actually, I suppose that makes sense. I think they removed the mother so they wouldn't have to mention the lack of father. Oh, wait, hold on. You might be cooking, Cyber Hacker. You might be cooking. You think like maybe they wanted to depict a single mom? That is also something that could happen. I don't see 4Kids being past that. I can see like no. Single parents don't exist. Single parents don't exist. It's just like he just lives with grandpa. I can see that. I can see that. That will also make sense. Jaden's parents are mentioned but never shown. I don't remember that, but yeah. Apparently the real reason to make it relatable and fast paced for children's short action span. Could be. To be fair, they could have changed the dialogue. Won't be the first time. Yeah, okay, you're right, Mega Sam. I think you're right. They could just change the dialogue. Maybe they just felt like it's not worth it to change the dialogue. Let's just delete it. But yeah, you're right. They could have changed the dialogue. I feel like they done it before. But maybe those scenes were more important. Well, do like with Ash mom. Yeah, you're right. They do that with Ash's mom, and it's 4Kids too, right? I think. So yeah, I don't know, chat. let me know in the comments about this. Let me know in the comments. I want to hear your theories. I'm really curious about this. I'm really curious to see this. If you know more information about this, I will love to know, because this is such a weird thing. But I'm sure there has to be an explanation. I don't think this is just a whim. I feel like there has to be an explanation. So yeah, let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching.